Good evening, everyone. Good evening to the folks who are in chambers, and good evening to our Zoom audience. Before we begin, I would like to, as we take a look at the approval of the agenda items, I would like to note that we are going to make two changes to the agenda. First of all, we are going to add, under approvals and appointments, we are going to add Kathy Raybourne to be reappointed. And we are going to move the approvals and the appointments to the top of the agenda, which means as soon as we get to the section on new business, then we will move to the appointments. Having said that, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Calabrese.
Present.
Councilman Petrucci.
Here.
Councilman Getzi.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Sapp.
Present.
Councilman Pecora.
Present.
Let me note that I, along with Councilman Getzi and Councilman Pecora, are in council chambers. The Deputy Mayor and Councilman Petrucci are joining us virtually. May I get a motion for approval of the minutes?
I make a motion.
Mayor Calabrese, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the approval of the minutes dated for August 17, 2020.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. May I get a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Petrucci.
Yes.
Councilman Getzi.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sapp.
Yes.
Councilman Pecora.
Yes.
Mayor Calabrese.
Yes. May I get a motion for approval of the expenditures?
I make a motion for the approval of the expenditures.
Thank you, Councilman Getzi. May I get a second?
Second.
Any comment from the public? Any comment from council?
Yes, Mayor Calabrese, on the expenditures, are we going to say how they are itemized? Are we going to read that for the public who are joining us remotely?
Manager, are you prepared to do that? Or we have someone from finance who would do that?
I'm not quite sure I understand the question.
So we are approving expenditures, is that correct? So we're going to say approval of the warrants and journal vouchers, et cetera, for those people who are joining us remotely and may not have the minutes in front of them or the agenda in front of them.
Yeah, I could certainly do that. So the motion is to approve the expenses, and it would be for CD requisition, 7 CD requisitions in the amount of $4,365.50. And it would be also check numbers 47406 through 47684 in the amount of $3,220,966.33 for a total expenditure of $3,875,556.80.
Thank you so much, Business Manager.
You're welcome.
Having said that, any comment from the public? Any comment from council? Roll call.
Councilman Getzi.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sapp.
Yes.
Councilman Pecora.
Yes.
Mayor Calabrese.
Yes.
Councilman Petrucci.
Yes.
Motion approved.
At this time, I would like to call for a public hearing on the 2021-2025 Capital Improvement Program. Is Chris,
Is there any public comment?
is
there
Chris
any-
Blackwell, oh, Chris, you're present? Okay. Any public comment? I'm sorry, we can't hear you, Deputy Mayor.
Oh, yes. I apologize, Mayor Calabrese.
I'm sorry,
was
you're
the
saying that you do have
question?
you have a comment?
No, I do not.
Any other member of council who would like to make a comment? Are you ready to move forward?
I'm ready unless someone on council or yourself would want more information on it.
I have a comment. For the people at the council meeting here, what does the non-electoral debt, what does that mean, non-electoral? What does that mean?
Are you talking about the ordinance that's later, Mr. Getzi?
2020-2672?
Yeah, that's yeah, that's later in the agenda.
Oh, okay.
But I'd be happy to explain that
All
now. It's up to.
So right now, Councilman Getzi, we're on the capital improvement program. Now would be the time for the public hearing.
Okay.
So if the manager or Mr. Blackwell would like to proceed with that.
I could just give a little synopsis of it. The Home Rule Charter requires that Penn Hills adopt a 5-year capital improvement plan, and out of that plan are expenses that have a useful life over 3 years. Mr. Blackwell, I think to his credit, in the last 2 years, we've really attempted to put together a more forward-looking document rather than just a wish list. If you look at the capital improvement plan that's been posted online, that's available here, it has all of the capital needs of every department, along with a price tag for it. We're in the process right now of making our 21 budget, and a big part of that will be how much money and to what degree we could fund our capital needs. So when you look at the capital improvement plan, you're going to see about an $8 million price tag on all of the capital needs that we have, from ambulance to vehicles to police cars to computers to certain building expenses. So all of those things are, we understand that there's a lot more need than there is funding, but what we try to do, myself and the staff working with the planners, is to try to find out and prioritize the money that we do have. So I think if nothing else, I think the document that exists today really shows you an accurate picture of all of the expenses that the capital expenses, I should say, that we do have looking forward. So it's if you haven't looked at it, I would recommend it that you do, because and actually there's a lot of commentary in there too that tells you a lot about the community. It ties in some ways to our comprehensive plan that we're also working on. If Mr. Blackwell would like to elaborate further, he now would be the time.
All right, thank you for that.
Myself here. I'm sorry if I couldn't hear your question exactly, but I think you summarized the capital program sufficiently. I think also if you look online, it's in color and it looks a little nicer. So you might residents might have a better time reviewing it if they go online. It's on our website, and I think it's important that the highlights, the written portion. I think some people are more familiar with the written portion. Maybe the spreadsheet seems a little intimidating or just harder to understand. So I think that the written portion is helpful in describing things. I think that also if you look at, as the manager explained, you're going to see that there's a shortfall, there's a gap. So if you look at the amount of funding, it's about $27 million over 5 years, and the amount of the expenditures is 36. So there's a $9 million gap. But it may not appear as bleak as that looks, in that if you look up above, like the multimodal funding, that's the funding source. Or for the ARLE grant for the lighting, that's the funding, that's the grant. Down in the body of the spreadsheet is actually the expenditures, and that includes our match. So what's not included in the funding source is the match. So some of that money, those are things that council will have to, in the future budgets, they will allot perhaps more money to the capital program, or it'll come out of that $500,000 that you see at the top for the capital fund. I don't know if that explains it, but for every $1 million, say, of multimodal funding, Penn Hills is obligated to pay $300,000 in match. And that is not reflected in that cost up in the funding up above, just the grant. I just wanted to add that.
Thank you, Mr. Blackwell.
Can you say that again?
I'm sorry. I was going to ask Chrissy, could you just say why that doesn't show?
I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor, can you repeat that? You cut out. We couldn't hear you.
Yes, I was asking Mr. Blackwell if he could tell us why it doesn't show.
Because that portion is funding sources. So that's the grant, the funding sources. And then you see also at the top, the capital fund is $500,000. We're asking that $500,000 to pay a lot of different expenses. So it may be that mayor and council have to increase that fund or we have to look for additional grant funding. But that's my understanding of how, we put the funding sources available up at the top. And then there it shows a gap. Those are some things that mayor and council and the manager have to work on. The funding, like I say, is the match. So,
Okay.
Like we're used to spending, say, $600,000 on streets, right? And now we have a grant of $1 million, but we still have a match. And it's not shown specific column for funding. That capital fund, the $500,000 could be used as the match. But there's clearly more expenditures than funding that gone out for funding and grants and things like that. And those are the decisions. I think it's helpful also for the mayor and council, the public to see that, if we need new police cars or ambulances, or we want streets paved, or we want, these capital improvements, our parks, our stormwaters, if we want less flooding, things like that. This is what these things cost. The capital program is really showing the reality of, as the manager said, of expenditures and available funds.
Thank you.
Thank you. So at this time, it's time for the public comment period. Manager, would you like to discuss the protocol, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Now is the time for public comment. You're asked to present yourself at the microphone and please give us your name and address for the record. And speakers are limited to 3 minutes, and I will call the speakers in the order in which they signed up. Faith Milazzo. Is Faith not here?
Faith is there. We
Oh,
just have
sorry.
to get her on.
Oh, yeah, hi, sorry, I'm here. I just wanted to Faith Milazzo, 121 Castle Drive. I just wanted to briefly say that the Penn Hills is once again fielding a team for the Pittsburgh Garbage Olympics. This, I think, is the 4th year, and we will be competing against 37 other teams. It's the largest contingency they've had this year. This is going to be this Saturday. We will be cleaning up. We're going to start at the Giant Eagle. It is on Verona and Frankstown. We're going to meet there, and if we have overflow, then we will meet. Thad Stevens has graciously allowed us to do additional parking there. And from 9 to 11 this Saturday, we will be cleaning up Frankstown, Robinson, parts of Verona, and if we get enough people, we'll move to Blackador, but it just depends. Right now, we have about 18 people, so Just wanted to let everyone know that anyone is welcome. We have a Facebook page, Penn Hills Anti-Litter Group, also a Gmail, phantilittergroup@gmail.com. So if anyone is interested, we'd love to have you. We'll social distance or physical distance as best as we can. We have gloves and bags and vests, and I left a message for Chief Burton, and hopefully we can have a little police help just, because of traffic issues. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for all that you do for Penn Hills. We appreciate it so much. People like you make the community so much better than we would be without you. I thank you so much. Now we move on to new business, and at this point we are moving up on the agenda the approvals and the appointments. I do have a technical question, though, because we had planned to live stream.
We are.
I'm sorry, with the camera. So how will they, what's the plan, Jesse? Do you want them to come here, or you're already trained on them?
We're all set.
You can bring them each up? May I get a motion to reappoint Kathy Raybourne for a 3-year term from September 22nd, 2020 to 9/22/2023, and reappoint Dick Duncan as well to the Shade Tree Commission for a 3-year term from 9/22/2020 to 9/22/2023.
Mayor Calabrese, I'll make a motion to reappoint Kathy Raybourne.
This is all the.
And,
second.
and Rick Duncan as well?
I make a motion to appoint Rick Duncan.
Well, I think it's just that the Councilman Petrucci failed to mention for the record Rick Duncan's name. Councilman Petrucci, are you making a motion to reappoint Kathy Raybourne and Rick Duncan to the Shade Tree Commission for a 3-year term?
I am, and I want to just point something out. The audio in that room is absolutely horrible.
Well, yours isn't too great either, but we're doing the best we can with technology. So may I get a second for the reappointment of Kathy Raybourne and Rick Duncan?
Second.
Thank you.
I already second that motion.
Okay. Before we ask for public comment, may I get a motion as well to appoint to the Shade Tree Commission for a 1-year term Betty Arndt, Jill Daly, Laurie Folwell?
Mayor, I'll make the motion to appoint all of them.
May I get a second, please?
Second.
I'll second that motion.
Any public comment? Any comment from council?
Yes, Mayor Calabrese.
Yes, Deputy Mayor Sapp.
I'd like to say to Kathy Raybourne and the rest of the Shade Tree Commissioners, you guys are doing a wonderful job. You really do a good job making sure that Penn Hills looks amazing. We appreciate all of your hard work, all of the in-kind that you give to Penn Hills. We know that you have full-time jobs outside of what you volunteer to do. And I just want to say thank you. It's much appreciated. And again, you make Penn Hills look beautiful. Thank you so very much for what you do.
Thank you for me.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Sapp. Any other comments from council?
They're doing
Mayor?
a wonderful job.
Councilman Getzey.
I think the Shade Tree Commission is doing a wonderful job. That's my comment.
Any other, you can't see under the mask, but I can see his eyes. He's got a huge smile on his face. Any other comments from council?
Mayor Calabrese,
Yes, Councilman.
I would also like to thank Kathy and her team for all the fine work they do. And maybe next year we could put something in our budget to give them a little bit of a stipend to help them out in the future.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you so much. Any other comment from council?
Nope, I'd like to give him a round of applause, Mayor Calabrese.
We could do that.
What I'd like to do, and I'm not sure how this works, if this was the old days, we would be here, but Jesse, were you suggesting that we could call them up? And Kathy, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I would like to make a comment before we call each of you up here. This is truly, truly astounding what you do for us. Some of us attended your pizza party, the picnic in the park a few weeks ago. And I would say to the public, if you have not had the opportunity to go and see the work that they have done, there's no words that can describe this. You have to just experience it in person. On top of that, these individuals are volunteers. They don't get paid. Their backgrounds are so astounding. I think it's critical to note that Penn Hills is among a very elite group of municipalities or boroughs who are part of this. I hope you'll correct me if I miss anyone, but as far as I know, there are only 4 in this area. It's Penn Hills, Fox Chapel, and Mount Lebanon. And I can't think of the 4th one right now. Oh, Forest Hills, that's right. So I think that's a pretty elite group to be in, and I'm so proud that we are in that group, and we're in that group because of your work, and you folks do this with no pay, and I know it's hard work, but please, there are not many things that everyone agrees on, but I think that I would speak on behalf of the entire municipality when we say thank you so much. You give us a beautiful place to live. The children here have so much beauty to see. You raise the values of our homes. You make our neighborhoods outstanding. And I thank you so much. So what I would like to do at this time is call you up each by name. And Kathy, it'll be your choice if you could just say something about each individual so we don't put them on the spot. But I just think it's... when we were at your picnic, you spoke about them. They are so impressive. And if you could give them just a brief introduction or so, I just think that the world and the municipality needs to know who it is that's making Penn Hill so beautiful. So I present Kathy Raybourne. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Would you like to call them one by one, or do you want?
Sure, can they hear me?
Can you hear back there?
Yeah.
Okay. We want your family to see your face, so how do we get them on there, Jesse? They can just line up? Okay, terrific.
Okay. Well, first I'd like to introduce Rick Duncan. He's going to be vice president for the next 3 years. Rick has been on the Shade Tree Commission for 3 years so far, and he works as a GIS specialist, and his background is in archaeology. And he really helps us out with mapping of Penn Hills and the areas that we see through his maps that are in need of trees. So then I'd like to introduce Sandy Feather, please. I'm so honored to have Sandy Feather on our team. She is an educator with Penn State Extension, so she educates all the people that work in the horticulture industry throughout Western Pennsylvania. I try. And in addition, for many years, she wrote the gardening articles in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. And I have so many of them back in the day of paper. I have so many of them cut out and filed, and she's taught me an awful lot of information over the years. And Jill Daly. Jill Daly is new to our Shade Tree Commission. She has been a reporter and journalist for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette for 30-some years.
And she, I believe you do have a master's degree in landscape architecture. And she works in the biological greenhouse. She manages the biological greenhouses at the University of Pittsburgh. And Betty Arndt? And Betty is also new to our Shade Tree Commission, and she is a volunteer for basically what's Meals on Wheels in Penn Hills. But she has an impressive career. Her last position, if I have this correct, is COO of the John Hines History Center. So I have an amazing team here, and we've accomplished so much in 3 years, if you don't mind me saying.
Please do.
Just real briefly, I just made a couple notes here. So we have planted 168 trees and shrubs in 3 years in Penn Hills. We have involved hundreds of Penn Hills residents as volunteers. 77 of those trees and shrubs have been planted as part of our Plum Creek project, and that's what the mayor was referencing, I believe, in Penn Hills Community Park. Please take a drive through and take a look at all the wildflowers that are still in bloom, as well as all the trees and shrubs that we've planted. And that's all been funded through the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy. And they have recognized us in their brochure, a full-page article about this project that we've done. And so that's quite an honor. We've had 2 Arbor Day celebrations, and Councilman John Petrucci has supported us through both of those, and he has attended and has read the proclamations, yes, the Arbor Day proclamations for us each year. We've also, one of my favorite programs is our Front Yard Tree Project. That's where we choose at least 15 homes on one street where we can plant a small flowering tree in their front yard. And we do that to add beauty and to increase the property values and for all the environmental benefits. And so far, we've planted 66 trees for free for Penn Hills residents in that program. We've also planted 15 trees along Allegheny River Boulevard, and because of all this work, as the mayor already said, we have been recognized, Penn Hills has been recognized as a Tree City USA. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you all. You should see these beautiful smiling eyes. So I think we have to make it official and do roll call.
Councilman Getzey?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Sapp?
Yes.
Councilman Pecora?
Yes.
Mayor Calabrese?
A resounding yes.
Councilman Petrucci?
That's yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Welcome and thank you so much. You are so impressive, so impressive. Not only the trees, but each individual. Thank you so much. You are certainly welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. It's your choice. Now we move on to resolutions. May I get a motion for Resolution 2020-46?
I'll make a motion for Resolution 2020-46, approving a minor budget amendment to provide additional funding for the 2020 CDBG Street Reconstruction Program.
Thank you. May I get a second?
Second.
Public comment. Comment from council. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Sapp?
Yes.
Councilman Pecora?
Yes.
Mayor Calabrese?
Yes.
Councilman Petrucci? Councilman Petrucci?
Yes.
Councilman Getzey?
Yes.
Motion
Yes.
carries.
May I get a motion for Resolution 2020-47?
Mayor Calabrese, I make a motion. to
I'll
approve
make a motion for resolution
One moment, Councilman. Councilman Pecora is in the middle of making the motion. One moment, please. Go ahead, Councilman
Madam
Pecora.
Mayor, I make a motion for Resolution 2020-47 to award the year 2020 CDBG Street Reconstruction Program to independent enterprises in the amount of $315,873.70.
Thank you. May I get a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Any public comment? Any comment from council? Roll call.
Councilman Pecora?
Yes.
Mayor Calabrese?
Yes.
Councilman Petrucci?
Yes.
Councilman Getzey?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sapp?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
May I get a motion for Resolution 2020-48?
Mayor Calabrese,
Yes, Deputy Mayor Sapp.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept resolution number 2020-48, adopting the 5-year capital improvement program for 2021 through 2025.
May I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Pecora. Any public comment? Any comment from council? Roll call.
Mayor Calabrese?
Yes.
Councilman Petrucci?
Yes.
Councilman Getzey?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sapp?
Yes.
Councilman Pecora?
Yes.
Motion carries.
May I get a motion for Resolution 2020-49?
I'll make a motion for resolution 2020-49, authorizing the municipal manager to sign a 5-year winter service agreement with PennDOT.
Thank you. May I get a
Second
second?
the motion.
Second.
Thank you. Any comment from the public? Any comment from council? I just asked the manager to give a brief description as to what that means so
Sure.
that the public understands.
We during the winter months maintain, that is to say, winter maintenance. We salt and treat certain state roads that are located throughout Penn Hills, and so in order for PennDOT to reimburse the municipality for our time and materials and so forth, we have to have a reimbursement agreement in place. This is for 5 years, and it's about $160,000. In the agreement, it spells out the road miles and how much the reimbursement is for each particular road that we do for them. So this is in place so that when we do work on state roads, that we get our time and materials reimbursed.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Roll call.
Councilman Petrucci?
Yes.
Councilman Getzey?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sapp?
Yes.
Councilman Pecora?
Yes.
Mayor Calabrese?
Yes.
Motion carried.
May I get a motion for Ordinance 2020-2672?
I'll make a motion for ordinance 2020-2672, an ordinance of the municipality of Penn Hills authorizing incurring a non-electoral debit for the purpose of providing funds for a refunding project and financing certain capital improvements by the issuance of general obligation bonds.
Thank you. May I get a second?
Second.
Any public comment? Any comment from council? I believe that we have the underwriter here today, do we not?
Yeah, we do. We have Christopher Shelby from Piper Jaffray here present. If it's okay, I'd like to call him to address council.
That would be wonderful. Thank you so much. Welcome.
Yeah, that podium. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Chris Shelby from Piper Sandler. Actually, the company name changed from Jaffray. Jaffray got unloaded and Sandler came in.
Good evening and welcome to Penn Hills.
Thank you very much. I have a handout, but I did forward it. I don't know if...
The presentation?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it in the afternoon.
Okay.
I do have it.
Can
Okay.
I have a copy?
I do have copies if anybody would like a copy that's present. Okay.
Oh, let me give this back to you.
No. I was expecting one page.
Right off the copier.
I can't slide it off.
Oh, what the heck. I don't have it. You don't have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I have mine.
Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
So I'll briefly go through what is being proposed by this ordinance, and it is a debt ordinance, but it's solely for the purpose of refunding existing debt of the municipality. So there's it's not the municipality going out to borrow new money or any large amount of new money for any capital purpose. It's really let's just equate it to a home mortgage, and if you had a 4% home mortgage, and you could do a 2% on that mortgage, you'd probably be at your bank and say, I'd like to refund because I want to save money, and that's exactly what is happening here for Penn Hills. The particular issue here is a issue that was done in 2014, and I apologize for those members of council that don't have this, but if I could refer you, and then I'll try to speak to what the reference is, to page 3, or page 2, rather. Maybe if I put my other glasses on, I might get the right page. That is just a sample of the sources and uses of funds in order to accomplish this refunding. The bonds were issued in 2014. They were pretty much at an average rate of 2.79%. And right now, the market for this bond issue today, the same bonds could be issued at approximately 1%. So that's your differential in terms of the rate on this particular loan. There's about $4.4 million of this loan outstanding. And if we were to refund it and just, again, equate it to a home mortgage, your home mortgage, you'd have a choice if you were to go and successfully refund your mortgage and have savings as a result of the interest rate reduction. You'll have the savings right now on this loan in today, well, not actually today's market, in the market as of September 2nd, we're about $170,000. And on page 2 of the handout, it does indicate $166,000, but that does not also reflect the savings that would be on the debt service as well. And if we could just turn to page 3, what we do when we're refunding is probably the same thing most people with their home mortgage want to do. And that is, if you have 10 years left on your mortgage or 12 years or whatever, and you go to the bank and say, I want to have the same loan over the identical period of time with the same payment dates. I don't want to extend it. I want it to end the same as it does now. And in this case, the 2014 loan ends, your last payment is in August of 27. We have structured the refunding issue to match your February 1 and August 1 payment dates. and those payment dates will remain identical to what they are now under that loan, and the last payment will be also on 8/1/27, just as you might want for your home mortgage. You don't want to extend it, you want to pay it off, but you want the savings that can be realized by that, either in the form of cash, if you want to put a new kitchen in or something, and that's where this $170,000 cash savings would come to the municipality, net of all costs of issuance. So when we do speak to savings that the municipality would receive free and clear on the closing date of the refunding issue, it would be approximately $170,000. And then you can see on page 3, we can only make the new debt service as close to the existing as possible, but you can actually see that the new debt service is $3,800, even less than the existing debt service over the remaining period. So you'll have that, and in addition, the $166,000 cash. The last page, and just to repeat, that page 3 shows the exact prior debt service, meaning the existing debt of the 2014A in one column, and beside that column is the refunding debt service of a new issue that would be issued to take that out, and then it shows payment by payment, the difference, and you can see, well, you can't, some of you, but some of you can see that the annual difference is negligible, some to the slight benefit by $1,000 or so, some to the negative benefit by $1,000 or so, but when it's all said and done, come 8/1/27, you will also saved $3,800 in debt service. The final page is just a summary of calculations that we do, but it's just to reiterate what I told you. If you go to that page where we show that the computer has calculated the all-in yield of the new borrowing that refunds the old, and that is called the arbitrage yield, and that's a defined term. But that is a reflection of the real cost of the loan to the municipality, 1.04%. Then as you go down, you can see in the group of 3 lines above the bottom group, average coupon of refunded bonds. Those are the bonds that are outstanding now, 2.79%. So pretty much reflects the difference in the savings in terms of your interest rate. The bottom, where we've highlighted the yellow line, right above that yellow line, again, is the total net present value savings of $171,000, and the percentage savings of the refunded bonds, meaning that is the $171,000 divided by the number of bonds that you're removing from the market or you're refunding. Excuse me, and that would be 3.82%. The only update, and then I'll go into a little bit more detail with regard to the ordinance and what we're here for, is that the market has improved since we ran these last numbers, but we could run them every day and you're going to get a different number, but it has improved. It has improved almost by 0.15%, or what we call 15 basis points. I didn't calculate that in here, but I think it's a wonderful cushion to at least be aware of where you stand in the market now, because your savings are definitely higher than the $170,000. I can't really project where they are today, but I'd certainly put them in the mid-180s now, just based on the prevailing market.
It's 8 o'clock.
Pardon me?
I think that was just a timer. That's okay.
Okay. So what the ordinance does tonight is basically what you're doing is you're directing council, or the authorization of a council member, I believe the mayor, to accept a bona fide proposal that meets the expectations of council on behalf of council without council having to have another meeting to do that. And the reason that's done this way, probably in 95% of the bond issues that are done for local municipalities, is because your dates to meet are predefined, and if the marketing of the bonds is going to happen, say, 2 or 3 weeks before your next upcoming meeting, you could actually, the market could move on you. You could lose the savings just by having had to wait for the meeting. So what this ordinance does is it authorizes most likely the mayor to approve an acceptable level of savings that is acceptable to all of council. There is a minimum stated in the ordinance of 2% savings, 2% being 2% of the bonds that are being refunded. And so 2% of the 4.4 million is about $88,000. That would be the minimum savings that would be even acceptable to council. But at the same time, that is not what council would accept. And you are in no obligation through this ordinance to do a refunding bond issue unless it is so authorized by the mayor with the power you vest for her to make that decision on behalf of council and to go back to council again and make sure everything is where you all want it. The proceeding tonight would be, we're just looking to begin the document preparation, which takes about a month of time, and we'd work with Scott and with your finance office to draft what we call a preliminary official statement, which is an offering document for the loan. And say 3 to 4 weeks, we will have that document prepared. This is at no cost to the municipality. I'm glad I'm here to be on record for that. There's no cost for this effort to the municipality. Upon the completion of the preliminary official statement, we would come back to Scott and as a messenger on behalf of council, and to distribute a new look using rates current as of that date in the market, and say, Scott, here's where the savings are today. They could be at 181, they could be at 161, they could be at 175. Do you want to proceed at that point in time, which again is probably 3 to 4 weeks from now, to the rating agencies for a credit rating? If the savings are appropriate and something you do want to get on behalf of the municipality, you can say, let's go for the rating. And in about 10 days, you'll have a credit rating in hand from Standard & Poor's, and you'll be in the market in very short order to sell the bonds for the refunding bond issue. But we want another check down the road, so tonight is doing nothing but telling us to get to work. We want another check down the road to make sure the savings and the market has remained where it is today or better. And that with that, you are in control, but at the same time, you don't have to reconvene a formal meeting or wait for a formal meeting to say, yes, let's go, because the authorization is there, not with us, but with council. And when told, then we will immediately turn around the bond rating process and then move into the market. We've done this for the municipality. I know they're new members and the mayor's new, and since I think I was last year, but we've done this for the a multitude of issues for the municipality, a great success. And it's rather routine for us, but at the same time, it's never out of your control or never out of council's control. And with that, this ordinance will put it all in motion, but in no way obligate council to accept any proposal. And we will continue to remain in touch, keep you apprised. When we're ready to go, or we think it's time to go, we'll let you know exactly where you stand, and the decision will come back from you again. Even upon that decision being made to let's get the rating, because if you do get the rating will be at the sole item if there is no bond issue at the expense of council or of the municipality. It is the sole expense that you would incur because the rating agencies require, they don't come to us, they require the issuer to sign off on the obligation, so that if you complete the rating process, you have obligated yourself to pay for it. And again, it's a scheduled rate of payment for the rating agency. I'd estimate it's based on the par amount of the bonds being issued. In this case, it'd be about $4.5 million or 4.6, what we saw. And I don't know exactly, but you'll know well ahead of obligating yourself to the rating agency exactly what their payment will be and is required. But I'm going to estimate. I hate to estimate because it is just in a schedule, but I'd say around $11,000, $12,000. would be my guess. And, but again, we don't go to the rating agency if the market is not a month from now or whenever the documents are prepared, not where you want it to be. You simply hold off and you're good to go. The ordinance will remain in place and you're good to go whenever the market returns. And we've had that happen many times where the market has just fallen away over that 2-3 week period where we're preparing documents and we've had to put it on hold, but coming back 2-3 months later, the market returned and you're all ready to go then, and that's a good thing, short of having the rating in hand, which again is about a 10-day process. I know I've said a lot, but if there are any questions or?
So before I open it to questions, I just want to clarify, because when the general public uses the word refund, we think we're getting something back. But are you not using the word refund synonymous with, you use the analogy, a home mortgage, we mean refinancing?
Same word.
Same word.
Right.
So
Refund
you're talking.
is just our industry, but refinance is the same definition, sure.
And so you're talking about sort of a three-step process. First, we're authorizing you to just go and do the paperwork to see where we are.
Right.
Second, then we would be dealing with the rating agency. At that point, we are obligated to pay something, and we won't hold you to this, but about $11,000 to $15,000 maybe.
That is correct.
At that point, once we get those numbers, then we make a decision if we want to move forward.
That is correct, too. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how do we pay you then?
We and the rating agency as well, upon, making the decision to get the rating because the market is providing you the level of savings that you hope to obtain, all costs of issuance are paid for out of the bond issue. And the 170 that I quoted tonight, not quoted, but said that's where it was back on September 2nd, is net of all estimated costs, including the rating, legal fees, the rating, underwriting, printing, the paying agent. They've all been taken into account because we can usually come up with pretty good estimates as to where it would be.
You as the underwriter get paid separately. The legal fees are separate from your fees, correct?
That's correct. All the fees are separate, really.
And your fee is a percentage, is it not?
It's a percentage of the par amount of bonds issued, right.
And what's the percentage?
It's usually in the 0.7 to 0.9 tenths of 1% range. And it is dictated largely by the market, and if the market is what we call soft, and we have to pay or give up a little bit to put bonds into the market, it can go to the higher side. But the lower side is if it's a good market and strong and moving forward and we don't have to give anything up, then obviously we would go to the lower end.
Is it negotiable? We can negotiate with you on that?
It is negotiable.
It
yes.
is negotiable,
Yes.
okay. Any public comment? Any comment from council?
You saved me from asking a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, one moment, please. Deputy Mayor, Councilman Getzey asked to be recognized. Councilman Getzey, will you please speak up a little or come closer to the microphone?
I'll do that.
Thank you.
I said, you've saved me from asking a lot of questions this evening.
That's good, I'm glad.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Sapp.
I didn't hear Councilman Getzey's question.
Councilman Getzey said to the underwriter, he said, thank you. Your presentation saved me from asking a lot of questions.
Oh, okay. All right. I just wanted to confirm that he said that our maturity redemption date would be August 1 of 2027.
Yes. Yeah, that
Is
is
that
the
correct?
existing date, and that would be the final date of the refinancing loan.
Okay. And then the other question I had, you said that you did tell Mayor Calabrese that this was negotiable, but after we approve this evening, we will be set at what we agreed to with these terms. Is that correct? Or we can still negotiate?
Oh, you can still negotiate that. Really, the only, there's certain fees that are small, but they're just, advertising, the printing, the necessary printing, and paying agents, well, they're usually pretty much the same. But certainly the legal and underwriting fees are, I shouldn't speak for legal. I should just say that the underwriting fee is certainly negotiable. You'll have two legal fees, and that one would be bond counsel, and who would provide the opinion to the public that your bonds are tax exempt and are exempt from federal taxation, and your local counsel who represents the school districts and makes sure that all the proceedings to underwrite the bond or to process the bond issue are appropriate and in line.
I'm sorry, you said school district, you mean the municipality, do you not?
I'm sorry, yeah.
Okay, because we're a separate entity from...
Absolutely, that was a complete slip. It is strictly the municipality's obligation.
Okay. Okay, and there was one other question I had for you. When you were talking about the rating and you were saying, let's go ahead and we should consider getting that rating. You talked about, can you tell me what percentage you said? You said something about a 4.5, and then you went out on my end. You were referencing to the rating.
Sure.
The cost of the rating, maybe?
Well, again, the cost of the rating, I'm just guessing at around 11,000, 12,000. But that again is
okay. But we don't have a concrete number. That's just a guesstimate.
That would be my estimate. But I could actually probably give you an estimate tomorrow by calling Standard & Poor's, putting the size of the bond issue in front of them. Then they'll quote directly from their schedule what their rating fee would be within probably $100, $200. Again,
Okay.
the rating and whatever our computer does, it does calculate internally the rating cost as well as estimated legal, underwriting, paying agent, et cetera. And all of those costs have been taken into account in tonight's presentation. They're going to go up or down a little bit, but they're probably very, very close. So, the number I'm giving you tonight, which is also low versus the real market, is taking into account that all of those costs are paid out of the bond issue proceeds, not out of the municipality's checkbook.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You bet.
Well, just to be clear, though, if I buy a car, for example, I don't want to know what the monthly payment is. I also want to know overall. And I know we cannot hold you to these numbers because the numbers change daily as the market changes. I get that. But I just want to be clear. So we have various fees that we have to pay. So you're saying, based on tonight, we're just authorizing you to go out and do the search.
Exactly.
The next time we get together, though, we would be, if we approve it, we would be obligated to pay the rating agency, and we can't hold you to this number, but somewhere in the ballpark of 11 to 15,000 maybe.
Right, but that would again be after you get another look at where the market is. If your savings have dropped to 125,000, say 3 weeks from now, you may say no. We just don't want to do. We
Right.
don't want to go for the rating because if our savings don't get back over 150 or 160, we don't want to do the bond issue. Regardless of the 2% minimum, which is just pure, it's just industry level.
Right.
It has nothing to do with what your decision is. You're in control. This will never, you're in total control. And that means even to the point of enlisting the rating agency to do the credit rating.
Okay, but once we decide that we're going to enlist the rating agency, we are obligated to pay that amount, somewhere probably less than 15, whatever that number is, but just so we have a general idea.
And typically the rating agencies who are well aware that markets do change won't bill you for that rating. They'll bill you, but they won't expect any payment for probably 3 to 6 months. They'll give you that time knowing that you're looking for the market to return. If it were to drop away suddenly in that 10-day period when you enlisted the rating and then were ready to go to market and the market had disappeared.
Okay, but then after we get to step 2, and let's say we do say we want to go for the rating, and then we are obligated to make that payment. Then at step 3, we also have other costs. It's just when you say et cetera, I don't know what et cetera means. So we have, to be clear, we have to pay the underwriter, yourself. You will be paid a percentage. We have to pay bond counsel something. We have to pay our solicitor something. So, and we will know all those costs up front. Other than those 3 additional fees, are there any other fees that we need to be conscious of?
Not that are substantial, but I'll tell you what they essentially are. Again, you'll have your paying agent, which is a bank who will pay the bondholders the interest and principal as you pay it. They usually charge $500 per year, so it's a very, very minimal charge. You have the printing, the necessary printing for the documents that we do prepare. That's a small amount too. I'm just trying to think. So in size, underwriter, bond counsel, solicitor. I would then probably suggest the rating agency, and then the nominal costs, which are all probably $5,000-$6,000 or less. But they only represent, again, the paying agent, the printing, and probably advertising or reimbursements to counsel for necessary advertisements that are required.
Okay, so to be clear, we only have 4 substantial costs we are looking at. And the first one is going to be the rating agency, which is a done deal, and we cannot change that.
That is correct.
The other 3 costs, though, are the cost of the underwriter, which is yourself, the cost of bond counsel, and the cost of our solicitor.
Right.
And theoretically, all 3 of those are negotiable, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. In addition to that, you make reference to the 2% industry term. So when I read this ordinance, nowhere in there does that say 2%, but you're saying that that's implied that our savings will be at least 2%, and certainly $100,000 is more than the 88%, which would be in that ballpark, right?
Right. I don't know if
This is Pat Healy as bond counsel. The 2% is referenced at the bottom of page 3 under paragraph 2.
Yes, but that's not in the ordinance. So tonight we're passing an ordinance that does not say 2%.
No, that's in the ordinance that is presented tonight.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I do see it. Okay, I get it. I see it.
Okay.
Any other questions or comment from council?
Yes, I have 2 more questions, Mayor Calabrese, please.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so the first one would be, after all of this is said and done, our net savings would still be $170,000. Am I understanding that correctly?
If the market remains there, say a month to 6 weeks from now, yes. If it is not, you'd be informed that the market has moved and it's no longer there. It could be higher, it could be lower. So I can't, that's just a picture in time, but it's a relevant picture because the market has improved even after we did that computation.
Okay, and then you are requesting that we vote on this in its entirety, so we don't have to come back and meet and do this again, so that if the market is not ready, then our documents will be ready when the market looks more feasible. Is that what you're suggesting?
That is exactly right.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I have one final question, and I don't think that you probably cannot answer this, so this is probably a question for the manager, and if we don't have the answer tonight, that's fine, but and this will not affect my vote. I'm just curious. I would like to know what the purpose of this loan originally was for. As I understand it, the loan that we're talking about refinancing, you use the industry term of refunding. Lay people, we say refinancing. So the loan that we are refinancing is a prior loan, and at some point I would just like, and I don't expect an answer tonight, but I would like to at some point find out what that loan was for, because when we go to closing, we're going to have this $170,000 or whatever the number ends up being. And then at that point, we have to decide what we want to do with that money. Do we want to pay down the principal, or do we want to use it for something else? So I'm just curious at some point. I just want to go on the record tonight that I would like at some point an answer as to what it is that we're paying for.
We can do that.
Okay.
As I told you, the 2014 did refund another loan, just as if with your home mortgage, you had one at 7%, you refinanced it at 5. Now you have it at 5, and you're going to refinance it 2.5. It's the same thing, but there was an original loan, and it was for capital purposes of the municipality, and I know that's what you're asking. And
Yep.
It is out there. It just takes a little bit of digging. But
Okay.
we can get that for you.
Thank you so much.
You bet.
Roll call.
Councilman Getzey,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sapp,
Yes.
Councilman Pecora,
Yes.
Mayor Calabrese,
Yes.
Councilman Petrucci.
Yes.
Ordinance adopted.
Well, thank you. We'll get to work. We'll be in touch with Scott and his finance office to start the preparation of documents. As we said, there's no cost whatsoever to the municipality to go through this process other than Scott's time and the finance office's time, because we do work together. And bond counsel and your solicitor will probably be involved in the process, but again, everything is, I think I can speak for bond counsel and your solicitor. I think they're both listening. There's no expense on their part either, unless there's an advertising charge or something very nominal like that. There's no expense or charge to the municipality till we get past the rating and actually get the bond issue into the market successfully.
Thank you, and thank you so much for coming here tonight.
Oh, you bet. I'm glad. It's nice to get out. It's been a while.
It sure has.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. May I get a motion for ordinance 2020-2673?
Mayor, I'll make a motion for ordinance 2020-2673, an ordinance of the municipality of Penn Hills authorizing the sale of 245 Frankstown Road.
Thank you. May I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any public comment? Any comment from council? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Sapp,
Yes.
Councilman Pecora,
Yes.
Mayor Calabrese,
Yes.
Councilman Petrucci,
Yes.
Councilman Getzey.
Yes.
Ordinance approved.
Thank you. Now we move down to item number 9, approvals and appointments, but we've already done the appointments. May I get a motion to approve 2020? May I get a motion to approve 9E?
I'll make a motion to approval of 2021 minimum municipal obligation, MMO, for police and non-police pension plans.
Thank you. May I get a second?
Second.
Any comment from the public? Any comment from council? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Sapp,
Yes.
Councilman Pecora,
Yes.
Mayor Calabrese,
Yes.
Councilman Petrucci,
Yes.
Councilman Getzey.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. May I get a motion for 9F?
Mayor, I'll make a motion for approve change order number 1 for Soul Construction in the amount of $75,000 for Cypress Hill and Linwood Drive for storm sewer projects.
Thank you. May I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comment from the public? Any comment from council? Roll call.
Councilman Pecora,
Yes.
Mayor Calabrese,
Yes.
Councilman Petrucci,
Yes.
Councilman Getzey,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sapp.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. May I get a motion for approval of 9G?
Mayor, I'll make an
I'm sorry,
motion for approval of.
one moment, Councilman Petrucci, I'm sorry.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilman
before
Pecora.
we proceed with approval 9G, I'd like to make a motion that we table the RFP for the William McKinley Citizen Center.
Okay. May I get a second? We have a motion to table 9G. May I get a second? I will second the motion to table 9G. Any comment from the public?
Mayor, there is no discussion on a motion to table. It moves right to a vote.
Okay. If any member from council wants to make a comment, may they? Or you want to, we move straight, you have to move to a vote.
Mr. Alexander, can we make a statement before the vote?
There's no discussion on it.
I didn't hear you, ma'am.
He's speaking to the solicitor.
I don't think Craig can hear us.
Craig, can you hear us?
I don't think you can.
Mayor, you addressing me?
Yes. Can we make a statement before we vote, Mr. Alexander?
Can you vote? Yes.
Okay, I would like to make one.
Please speak up, Councilman, or bring the microphone closer to your mouth. Thank you.
Sure, no problem. I believe before we vote on such a controversial and major issue, we should hold a public hearing on this matter to hear from our residents as well as the individuals who utilize this center. We need to take into consideration what a community resource and neighborhood icon this facility has been. The William McKinley Center was created through all volunteer efforts of Ralph Stoner and operated for years by Ralph and his devoted family and community activist Pat Geffert, none of whom received a dime for their services. It was never a burden to the municipality. I recognize it is our responsibility to save taxpayer dollars and to wisely spend the dollars of the municipality does collect. But apparently, we have no trouble affording lucrative management contracts or giving raises to managers far above what the average taxpayer in Penn Hills is receiving. I definitely believe there are areas that we can cut our budget, particularly excessive overtime in some departments. I think it would be in the best interest of the municipality to hire a professional consultant who can give us sound financial advice moving into the future rather than trying to save nickels and dimes by moving to lease the McKinley Center. Thank you.
May we move to roll call on the motion to table item 9?
No, I'd like to make a comment.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Sapp.
Thank you. I'd just like the public to also know that we have two buildings in Penn Hills. The Penn Hills Multipurpose Center as well as the McKinley Center are created for the very exact same purpose. The Penn Hills Multipurpose Center has been leased, and I just want to let the public know that those two centers should have the identical consideration. There is already a tenant bringing in revenue for Penn Hills so that we, can get more revenue in so that we don't have to cut services such as our trash and things of that nature. No one wants to have to pay our rubbish if we don't have to. So I do want the public to be aware that the Penn Hills Multipurpose Center is leased and bringing in revenue, and the McKinley Center is also operating the same as the multipurpose center and should also have to bring in a revenue just as the multipurpose center. They should actually have the same exact consideration. Fair is fair. Thank you.
Any other comment from council?
Mayor, I agree with Deputy Mayor Kathy Sapp. I believe this will be the first time in probably years that we collected any money on either one of these buildings. We did the same thing at the Lincoln Park Community Center. And if it was good for the Lincoln Park Community Center, it's good for William McKinley. We should be fair in how we do this and finally get some revenue out of a building that has been generating revenue for the leaseor, but nothing for the municipality. So in that, I believe that we should rent that building out to whoever comes about. The person that's in it now can lease the building out, whatever the case may be. But we have to explore our options and get it out there and start collecting some rent, because we've never collected any rent on that building before. And what it's capable of collecting, let me tell you something. I'll quit my job as councilman and take the building over and rent it out if that's the way it's going to be. I'm done.
Any other comment from council? Yes, Councilman Getzey. Right now, I'm sorry, Councilman Getzey.
I will just say that I agree with Deputy Mayor Sapp, and I agree with Councilman Petrucci.
So right now, this is on the motion to table item 9G. We have not moved to that. Right now, before us is the question of whether or not we're going to table this and have a public meeting, or whether we're going to vote without a public meeting. So the motion before us right now is whether or not we are going to table 9G until we have a public meeting. Roll call.
On the motion to table, Mayor Calabrese,
Yes, I vote to table.
Councilman Petrucci,
No.
Councilman Getzey,
No.
Deputy Mayor Sapp,
No.
Councilman Pecora. On the motion to table,
Yes.
it was 3-2, 3 in the negative and 2 in the affirmative.
Okay. May I get a motion to approve 9G?
I'll make a motion to approve 9G.
I second that.
Any public comment? Yes, we have public comment.
I missed that question.
Hello? Am I on?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you. Please go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, this process is awkward. I just had several questions. Will the bidders to the RFP be required to honor the existing leases with current tenants of the building?
Somebody want to answer that?
Mayor Drachak, can you answer that question, please?
Yeah, I think it's also a legal question as well, but I think as the RFP is written, when the proposals come in, they have to be reviewed by the mayor and council and the staff, Joanne. And then I think there's a process under which there's a dialogue and a discussion with the proposers along with the mayor and council, myself. I think as a matter of law, even if you were to sell a building, I think that the new buyer even has to honor those existing leases. I think the short answer is yes, I think. That would be something that would probably, I would imagine, come up in discussion with a proposer, depending on what it is they propose.
I'm sorry, I cannot understand you. Could you repeat the response?
My answer was that I think the answer is yes. The RFP as it's written is for the mayor and council to receive proposals from interested parties that would show the mayor and council what they would like to do with the building. Part of that is a process under which the mayor and council have to meet and have a discussion with those individuals. I would suspect that an important part of any discussion that takes place would be the status of the existing subtenants that might be there, and if there is a new tenant, what he or she proposes to do with those subtenants. So I think the answer is yes. I don't envision a scenario where the municipality would sort of disregard those tenants that are in there, Joanne.
Okay. My second question, given that the building is located in a residential neighborhood, how many residents of that neighborhood will be included as participants in the proposal review process?
The RFP, as it's written, is for the staff to review the proposals and then give them to the mayor and council, and then there's a discussion at that point. But if I think I understand your question is there any member of the public that's going to sit on that review committee? As it's written, the answer is no. However, that would be the prerogative of the mayor and council if they wanted there to be such an individual.
And my third and final question is, how will the RFP be issued to the public?
There's no set parameters as to how it gets advertised. My planning would be to put it on our municipal website and probably send it out to churches, nonprofit organizations in Penn Hills. It wouldn't be, I mean, it's not going to be, it's going to be on our website. We'll probably, if it's approved, it would probably be a low-cost form of advertisement, probably something in the newspaper that directs you to our website. But I would intend to do any advertising in a low-cost way, emailing nonprofit organizations in the community, folks that may be interested. But primarily it would be our website.
Your comment just brought up another question. Are bidders restricted to only nonprofits?
No. And
so a profit-making organization could?
Yeah, it would be open to anyone that wants to give a proposal. Those proposals the staff would review them, and mayor and council would review them as well.
Well, then, my closing comment is I would strongly urge that you include residents of the neighborhood in the proposal review process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joy.
Any other comment from the public? Any other comment from council?
I have a comment.
Yes, Councilman Getzey.
Mr. Andrzejczyk, can you summarize what all this conversation is and what we're voting on? Can you summarize that? Because with the hearing situation, I kind of lost track of where this was going, and with the other comments. Can you summarize what the yes vote is and what the no vote is for?
I think if I understand your question correctly, there was a motion on the agenda is an item to approve the issuance or the advertisement, if you will, of a request for proposals. It's an advertisement that asks the public to send us proposals. Okay. There was a motion to table that. There was a second to table that, and there was a vote. But it failed to garner support. So now there's a second motion on the agenda to approve the RFP. There was a public comment and some questions pertaining to the process. The comment that was shared was that part of the review process should include someone in the public on that review committee. and that would be up to the mayor and council if they so desired. But what I had explained to the caller was to say that once proposals are received, as I get them, I give them to the mayor and council. And so part of that review process, the RFP spells out what the review process is. That could be adapted by the mayor and council if they so choose.
All right. Is this going to be a two-step process? We're going to respond to one and then the second one? Or is it are we just responding to the first proposal or that we voted on not to not to table the ordinance? We voted not to table it.
There was a vote. There was a vote to whether or not to table, and now there's another motion that was made and seconded to issue the RFP, and then there were some public comments and questions that.
So, Jim, I'm asking for Councilman Bakura wanted to table the motion until we could have a public hearing. That motion failed.
Right.
So now we're going right to the motion to whether to send out the RFP. Right now, I just asked for public comment. We had public comment, and then I'm going to say one more time if there's any. I asked for public comment. There is no further. Now I'm at the point where I'm asking for council, if council wants to add anything, any comment.
No comment. No comment here. Thank you for your explanations.
I have, so, Mr. Njacek, isn't it accurate that the multi-purpose center can have we have only one tenant in there, whereas McKinley has potential for several tenants?
Yeah, I believe that's true. I think McKinley would have potential for more than one tenant.
So it's not really accurate that they're completely equal?
They're both municipal properties. That's about the only thing that they have in common.
That's the only thing they have in common. Thank you. And if you're going to send this out to churches and nonprofits and anyone else that is tax exempt, isn't it true that would put zero tax dollars into the rules if they're tax exempt?
If a nonprofit were to lease or own a property, then yes.
The answer is yes?
It would be nonprofit.
Okay, thank you.
Or I'm sorry, excuse me. It would be tax exempt, I do believe, unless the nonprofit used it for a profitable purpose, which I doubt they would.
And am I accurate if I take a look at the garbage fees? Isn't it almost impossible for any tenant to be able to submit enough revenue to us to get rid of garbage fees?
We don't have a garbage fee per se.
I'm sorry, I don't. But I'm saying the councilman and the deputy mayor were giving the impression, at least that's the impression I got, that if we had a tenant in these buildings, that would alleviate the garbage collection, whether it's by a tax or a fee or whatever.
Probably the best answer I could give, Mayor, would be to say what it is that we pay for garbage service every year, which is upwards of $3 million.
And it's highly unlikely, is it not, that we would get any tenant that could pay upward of $3 million?
I wouldn't want to wager a guess, but I would think, based on what I've seen, I did have a realtor go to the building in the past and give us some appraisal. I mean, if you're asking me, I don't think the building's worth that $3 million, I would say that. So
okay. If
the building isn't worth $3 million, then I don't know that you would get that kind of rent either.
Okay. My final comment is I just think it is unconscionable that we would vote on one of our pieces of real estate that's not just a piece of real estate. This is a place where seniors, we had a gentleman by the name of Mr. Opsitnik, I think I pronounced his name correctly, who spoke to us at a prior council meeting. He said, this is a place where seniors gather. This is a place where sometimes this is the only time that these taxpayers, these people who are the ones that are paying the bill, maybe they don't see anybody all day. This is where they have lunch. This is where you have activities. This is where children go to daycare. This is where children play basketball. I think it's a shame that we're reducing this to a piece of real estate when it's such a very, very vital part of our community, and yet we have the arrogance to vote on this without even holding a public meeting. That's a shame that we don't even give the public the courtesy of coming in and letting us hear their input. There's no emergency here. There's no need to rush to this. Roll call.
We are, what do you?
I have a comment.
I'm sorry. Yes, Deputy Mayor Sapp.
Yes, I just wanted to clarify my statement. So what I was saying was that our municipal buildings can generate revenue to help prevent the municipality from having to cut services. The other thing is, as you mentioned, there's a daycare center in that building. There's also a daycare center of 140 Penn Hills residents in the Penn Hills Multipurpose Center as well. So both of those municipal buildings can certainly operate under at least generating some revenue for our taxes, and they both can definitely benefit our community just the same as they are now. The Penn Hills, again, Multipurpose Center has over 140 children there, all Penn Hills residents. And actually, that space has now been converted into a space where Penn Hills children who opted to remote learn, they're remotely learning there. So, and it's also generating an income. And again, I say what's good for one municipal building is good for the other municipal building. That municipal building was voted on by all of council. And all of council voted unanimously to charge the Penn Hills Multipurpose Center, which is in Ward, I think, 2-2 of Penn Hills. And so the McKinley Center should be given the same consideration. And the difference is the McKinley Center can actually bring in more revenue because it has different resources over there. And that building, I believe the square footage doubles the size of the multipurpose center. So I'm looking forward to seeing what both of these buildings can do for the community. That's what they were built to do. Thank you. And if anyone has any questions with regards to my statement or what it needs clarification of what I'm conveying between the two buildings, you can feel free to call me or to email me. And at the end, I will give you my telephone number. It will be posted for all residents who has any concerns with either of these buildings. Thank you.
And just to clarify, the multipurpose center has only one resident, and that is one tenant, and that is a daycare, whereas McKinley has multiple. Among them is a daycare center. Roll call.
Correct.
Wait, I have a point of order question.
Yes, Councilman Getzey.
If we are voting for the RFP to be issued, is that what we're voting for?
Yes, sir.
Doesn't that negate our earlier vote? Our earlier vote about the community center, and now we're going to talk about an RFP?
You mean the earlier vote this evening?
Yes.
The earlier vote this evening, that Councilman Pecora wanted to table this. He wanted to have a public meeting before we vote on this.
Correct.
That motion was voted down. It did not pass.
Right.
So we're voting on that tonight. That's
Yes.
what we're voting on right now.
We already voted on that.
No, we're voting right now.
Well, I'm missing the point here.
There were two votes.
I understand that. 2 votes, but I'm saying the second vote, to me, from what I heard, is canceling the first vote. If we've agreed to table it, or not to table it, is that the end of the story? I mean,
No,
I don't
tabling.
understand what the second vote's for.
We wanted to, tonight on the agenda is to vote on sending out an RFP for McKinley. That vote is scheduled to go tonight. Councilman Pecora wanted us to have a public meeting, let the public come and see what they want. His motion did not pass, so we are having the vote right now on whether or not the RFP for McKinley should go out.
Okay. All right, I got it.
Okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Roll call.
Mayor Calabrese,
No.
Councilman Petrucci,
Yes.
Councilman Getzey,
Yes,
Deputy Mayor Sapp,
Yes.
Councilman Pecora.
No.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Any items for consideration?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilman.
I have some laundry list items here. First, I want to just say, as in previous years, and I already covered this before, that we include the Shade Tree Commission and the CDC in our budget next year to receive some type of a stipend. I said that a little earlier, and I think it's a good thing. They both do wonderful things for the community. Just before COVID hit, the Economic Development was working on a new LERTA program due to the old one that has expired. It's expired now, and we have no LERTA program. I think it's vital to the municipality to have such a program attached to attract development in our municipality. To explain a little bit about this, I will read a portion of the presentation. Now, they had a presentation from the Economic Development, and I got it. So I'll just read you a little bit about it. LERTA is an incentive for private investment by providing temporary real estate tax exemption for projects on underutilized properties that without this program may otherwise not have occurred. Applies to improvements to certain industrial, commercial, or other business property in deteriorated areas. Exemption would be uniformly established by the municipality. Purpose is improvement to the property must add value to the community as determined by the municipality, often deteriorated or vacant properties. They established some sites that would qualify for the LERTA program, which would be the U.S. Steel property. I believe there's 400 and some acres up there, Gascola, Atlas Cement Plant, Ritter Road, Walmart site, Penalco, Sandy Creek area, Richland Plaza, East Hills area, Alcoma Apartments, Milltown, and the Allegheny River Boulevard corridor. Some of these municipalities that are already using LERTA: Carnegie, City of Pittsburgh, Elizabeth, Findlay, Harmer, Harrison, Leedsdale, McKinley, McKees Rocks, Millville, West Mifflin, Swissville, Stowe, South Fayette, North Versailles, Neville, Mount Oliver, Moon, and Monroeville. Our ordinance was 2528 of 2010, which expired, and it shows you on page 3 of it that we did at one time give a tax incentive that on year 1 it was 0%, and it went all the way up to year 10 with a 90%. So, in saying that, to attract more businesses to our community, I think the Planning Commission department should take into consideration putting a new one together and use some of the spots that the Economic Development team put together for them. To go along with the LERTA program, last year, Damon Buselli, part of the planning department, Scott Andrachak, manager, and I were looking at a map of the corridor of Allegheny River Boulevard, where we noticed that the property from Verona border to City of Pittsburgh was mostly zoned residential. This limits the growth of commercial businesses within the corridor. I spoke to Mr. Buselli, and he suggested that the best zoning for the area would be B2. That's B2, general commercial. So tonight I propose that we move forward with Mr. Buselli's suggestion and a rezoning of Allegheny River Boulevard between those points B2. I believe that the next step should have a public meeting on this map. Am I right, Mr. Blackwell?
I wasn't aware of the conversation. I was not involved. I'm not aware of the plans
But
to
there is a planning
riverfront corridor. I'm not aware of rezoning the riverfront corridor to B2. That's not to say that it shouldn't be looked at, but I'm just saying I wasn't aware of the recommendation that it be zoned B2.
No, what I'm asking you, sir, is that the next step would be to have a public planning meeting on this matter. Is that correct? and your steps of how to do things?
Yes, you'd have a planning commission meeting. First, the planning department would review it. You'd have a planning commission meeting, which would review. You're talking about a municipal zoning change?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and then mayor and council would approve it. That's correct.
Thank you, sir.
Councilman Petrucci,
Okay.
may I ask you a question? Councilman Petrucci.
Go ahead.
Would you not have a conflict of interest? Do you not own property along that corridor?
No, because there's a lot more vacant property on that corridor than just mine. We have a restaurant that burned down, it's zoned residential, but they can't sell the property because nobody wants to go in there, and they're not going to put condominiums looking at railroad tracks.
So you do
there's
not.
a lot of property. Look at the map, and you would see the map, you would understand. We also have property closer up to the Midas board, where the border is across the street from Midas, that the gentleman wants to put some businesses up there also, but we're
So is
losing
your-
out because it's all zoned residential.
So is your answer no? You do not own property on that corridor?
My answer is what? I can't hear you very well.
Do you not own property in that corridor?
I do own property. I do own property on that corridor. I do own property, and it wouldn't affect me a bit. Mine's already zoned out.
So you don't have a conflict of interest?
I don't have a conflict of interest. As my property's already zoned light industrial. But the rest of the property around me isn't. Moving on. All right, to go, it's
Can I make a comment, Mr. Petrucci?
go ahead.
The property is not zoned light industrial. The property that you own is not zoned light industrial. It's zoned C conservation.
That's the property beside me, or where my building's at on 4600.
No, all the property around it is zoned C conservation. Those are non-conforming uses. Currently, even if a restaurant wanted to go there, where the former restaurant burned down,
Right.
it's not sewered. It doesn't have utilities. It's not sewered, and it's zoned C conservation.
So what if the people if it was changed over to commercial and they wanted to put a restaurant and they wanted to spend the money and put utilities in it, could it be done?
Oh, it could certainly be done, sure. I mean,
That's all
you can send a ship to the moon. I'm sure we could figure out a way to sewer it, but I think the cost would be might be cost prohibitive.
So moving on. I would like to address a couple issues, both past and present. Deputy Mayor Sapp and I have tried to come up with the solutions how to get the information out to the community that the progress does not cover circulation. Councilman Getzey had a concern over the need for more council members on council for proper representation in our community. A solution to both of these concerns is that we create 7 council members that are elected to 7 different wards in Penn Hills. Penn Hills will be divided up into 7 different wards, and each ward would elect a council person that represents that ward. That council person would represent the ward and disperse the information to the ward as needed. The council person would always also address the needs within the ward. The 7 districts of the Penn Hills Fire Department could possibly be used as the boundaries of the wards. That would have to be checked upon population. What I've described to you is already being done by Monroeville, so we would already have a model to go by. I asked the councilman from Monroeville if the system is working for him, and has he seen any problems with it? His reply is it works great and there's no problems that exist. To do what I just explained to everybody, we would need to amend the Home Rule Chart, Title 53, Chapter 29, Section 2942 and 2943A. Explain how we go about doing this. A referendum on the ballot about the question of the amendment of the Home Rule Charter or optional plan of government may be initiated by a petition of electors, or such referendum may be initiated by an ordinance of the governing body. I propose that we do the ordinance of the amendment of the Home Rule Charter as described and let the voters of Penn Hills decide on this important issue. My colleagues that were concerned, I spoke to them both, and I have they have no qualms about this. If they would like to enter something into this conversation, I warmly welcome it from Deputy Mayor Kathy Sapp or Councilman Getzey. I think this is vital to our community so that we represent, this community is represented in each one of the 7 districts by a separate councilman that could actually be there, live there, work there, and see what's actually going on. So that is my proposal. I think I'm done for the evening. Only one other thing I wanted to say in respect to the opinion of Chuck Miller, the emergency operation coordinator, about having council meetings in council chambers. I have chosen to do my appearance virtual until the emergency operation coordinator deems it safe to do otherwise. I thank you and have a good evening.
Any other items for consideration?
Yes.
Yes, Councilman
Mayor.
Getzey.
I would like to say that I do support the idea of expanding council to 7 members to get better representation from the community. I think a community of our size needs better representation than the 5 representatives we have now, mayor and 4 council people. And I think it would expand the areas of consideration to all the different areas of Penn Hills, which vary quite considerably. And so I support what Councilman Petrucci said. Yes, I did come up with the idea of expanding council. He enlarged that by talking about a commission form of government, but I certainly think the council should be expanded to 7 people. And I agree with the referendum process.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Sapp.
Yes, I just have a couple things. First, I want to start out with John Scaglione. He does a great job with planning all of our community events, and unfortunately, due to COVID, they had to be canceled for the safety of all of our residents and our neighboring communities. However, I would like to offer a suggestion. If he's on tonight, and even if he's not, Scott, if you could convey this to him, and I'll do a follow-up. I'd like to consider maybe going for our Penn Hills Light Up Night, a Penn Hills Zoom Light Up Night. Now that the children are learning remotely from home, they are very good in navigating the computers, laptops, notebooks. I think that it would be awesome if we could all come together as a Penn Hills family and still do Light Up Night by way of Zoom. I think Zoom only holds about 1,000 people. So Scott was telling us that there's a different way, a different avenue we could go that will maybe host more than what Zoom does. So I would like to offer that consideration. I think it would be great. I think that it would just bring our Penn Hills family together. And because of COVID, we've all had to separate in physical, social distance. This would be a nice way to come together and celebrate holiday cheer. So Scott, could you please send my consideration over to John Scaglione?
Yeah, I will do that. I also wanted to share that
Thank you.
the people that organize the Light Up Night, they have had some meetings. I know Public Works and Meg Balsamico late last week we're having some meetings, but at least as it's been thought of recently, we're thinking about having a drive-through Light Up Night. And they're putting that together. And I would think that if we did a drive-through Light Up Night, there might be a way to incorporate some type of a virtual aspect to that too. So I will let them know.
That would be great. Yeah, that's great. Okay, thank you. I thank you for sharing that. And I'll actually talk to her myself as well. That would just be wonderful to do that. I think Santa Claus could still be there and Rudolph and all of his reindeer. So that's an awesome idea. I knew they would be on it, but I just wanted to give that consideration just in case. All right, the second thing I'd like to say for items of consideration is I'd like for us to consider still having our council meetings remotely done through our go-to meetings, simply because of the health and safety of all of our Penn Hills residents and business owners. To ask them to come out to a council meeting in person, I just think that it's irresponsible and premature. Although our governor has lifted us a little bit and put us at 50% for restaurants, with opening up more to the percentage going higher, it just opens up to more susceptible chances of maybe catching COVID. And then our budget hearings are coming up. We definitely wouldn't want someone to come in and contaminate our building where we have to now shut down our finance department, Cherie, right? Okay. We wouldn't want Scott to get sick, even though I know that our building is open now, it's still in a segregated area so that people are not going all through the building. Also, we don't want anyone to, risk their life or their health just for a council meeting when they can come on by way of Zoom. Or, go-to meetings. And for those people who have a hard time navigating on the computer, I think that we should just try to come up with an idea to be able to reach out to them. I think it's almost the same people all the time who come to council meetings, for the exception of anyone who has an issue that they want to address. So just want to say out to council, mayor and council, that I think we should definitely take into consideration some other ways other than asking our residents to come in person. I don't feel comfortable, and I definitely don't want to risk anyone else's health or maybe, it can be fatal. So Penn Hills was projected to lose about 1,500 people during our COVID, the beginning of COVID. We did a good job. Our emergency contact manager, he did a good job with making sure that Penn Hills was kept safe, and we did not lose nearly as many residents that was projected. And flu season's coming up, pneumonia season's coming up. We want to stay safe. So thank you very much. Oh, I wanted to give out my phone number for those people who have any questions or concerns or can't navigate Zoom. Here is my phone number. I don't know if you can see it. Please feel free to call me anytime with any concerns, questions. Mayor and council is here for you. Our business manager is here for you. So if you don't have to come out, don't come out. Whatever issue you have, we can certainly address it by way of telephone or other means than putting your life and your health in jeopardy. So thank you very much. And again, feel free to call me anytime with any concerns. God bless you, Penn Hills. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other comments from council?
I have a comment.
Yes, Councilman Getzey.
When I ran for council, I issued publicly a 10-point program for community improvement, which has been pretty much put on hold, at least by the coronavirus. But one of the issues of concern to me is our housing situation. Penn Hills is about housing. We have housing. We have, I don't know how many, maybe a couple hundred houses on the demolition list. We're losing housing. So one of my suggestions was that we develop a program to give developers some break. It's an incentive program to give them a break to come in and rehabilitate houses. An example would be lien forgiveness. Other examples that I listed there. But I think we need to put together some type of program to start generating interest in the housing, to bring people in to rehab it. And because housing is going to be critical as this pandemic goes on. People are going to lose housing. People are going to need housing. We have the housing. It hasn't been maintained over the years. Our code enforcement program has not worked. And we need to do something for the housing situation. And if you've looked at the thing I put out for council to read, it spells out pretty much what I have in mind. The only person who responded to that was John Petrucci. So I'm going to ask the others of you, would you please respond to it, or can we develop some kind of program to start getting rehab done in the areas where it's needed? Thank you.
Thank you. I want to second or echo the concerns of the Deputy Mayor. We want to put safety first. Everyone should be, we want to have alternate means for you to be here. Yes, the Deputy Mayor is correct. This building is open. It will be open for voting, as I understand. We've been out in the community. We welcome the new clinic that's up in the old YMCA building. We did that with proper social distancing. We were with the Shade Tree Commission at their pizza party. We did that under proper precautions. The Deputy Mayor and I attended the celebration of the life of Lonnie Johnson on a few days ago. We did that with proper precautions. We really want to take the proper precautions. So even though the building is open, and tonight, for example, we had the Shade Tree Commission here, we hope to offer alternatives. Maybe people can email, they can send letters. Certainly, we're thinking about different alternatives. Even though the federal court has, and the governor has lifted the numbers of individuals, we still want to put safety first. So, having said that, I also want to say just reiterate that I'm very, very proud of our Shade Tree Commission, and I thank them so much for all the work that they do.
May I make another comment?
May I get a motion for adjournment?
May I make another comment? May I?
Well, that would be out of order, but sure, go ahead.
Earlier on, the discussion of the McKinley Center, you characterized us as arrogant. I resent that. I don't think I bring an arrogance to this council. I try to carry out the duties as I see fit without being arrogant, without having any personal vendetta or not vendetta agenda when I make my decisions or make my comments. So I do resent being characterized as arrogant and
I understand, and I stand by my comment. I think that the public, the taxpayers, should get to have a say on what we do with the real estate.
well, that's the issue. Is I didn't want to be characterized as arrogant. And take
I
your
understand.
point.
Councilman Getzi, I don't want to argue with you. We both had the opportunity
Not an
to speak.
argument, it's just a comment.
Okay. May I get a motion for adjournment?
I make a motion, Mayor Calabrese, that we adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Deputy Sapp. May I get a second?
Second.
The meeting is so adjourned. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.